Welcome, the War Chief of Light is back with another epic video. Hi, my name is Peepy, but you lovely people are more than welcome to call me Peeps. And did you know Christie Golden, famous author that writes for World of Warcraft, actually gave you a reading list for War Within? She did. I didn't read all of them, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't read The Shattering, but the other two, I did, and they are actually really good. And we're going to discuss why. We're going to discuss Anduin's part, and I'm going to tell you if they are a must-read or not. So, this should be an interesting, nerdy-ass video, I'm not going to lie to you. Before getting too deep into it, I want to explain a concept that is kind of weird for World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is a story-light RPG. Hear me out. If you play main story straight through, you get a kind of surface level, this is what's going on, this is what you need to know, let's go. And that's kind of it. World of Warcraft is designed for you to play with your friends. First and foremost, MMO, RPG second. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Again, a top level story is okay for a lot of people. If you want more, you can get it. The side quests, the books tend to be the expanded universe. This is what's really going on. This is why they made those decisions. This is the character deep down. And when done right, is incredible. Legion. Legion is the example. Legion was a great expansion. If you knew fuck all about anything going on, you played Legion, the story was great. Excellent, loved it, did the side quest, enjoyed it. Your book readers, so good. And when they do it poorly, you get Cataclysm. Cataclysm was based on the same 3 books that came for Legion. Difference in story, right? So anyway, so let's discuss. And this concept comes in these 2 books because these 2 books are actually the examples of what not to do. But I'm going to argue they're still good. So let's go. I'm going to start with Before the Storm. Yes, I know that's not chronological, but it's chronological to how I read them. Before the Storm is actually really a good book. The one part that is, oh my god, why is that not in the game? You should have just been expanded lore, not canon. And that is Kalia Menethil. And I can't stand that character, not even for a little bit. That is a savior character. And a lot of Before the Storm is building her character as the savior. Again, not great. However, the other 2/3 of the book are 11 out of 10. One of them, and I will argue with you all day, is The Forsaken. And I will tell you, this is the best Forsaken book you've ever read. Do you want to know how they live, why they live that way, what happens to them, how they have to make life decisions, why they are so behind Sylvanas, even in the face of all her atrocities, or even why it was a big deal when Banner Bay, which if you remember that meme, side-eyed her. It was a huge deal. This was not just a they're turning on her. No, it was a big deal. It's also why she still had followers after. And again, that part was 11 out of 10. To me, that was what made the book. The second part of the book is Anduin and why we're talking about it today going into War Within. Let's set the stage. Our boy is 18, 19. Okay. To me, young adult, but still like borderline. I don't want to think of how I thought when I was 18, 19. But in this book, Anduin shows you the burden of wearing the crown. Legion just happened. They lost hundreds, thousands of people. He lost his father, so he is grieving still and hasn't really had like 10 minutes to sit down and stop leading the Alliance to grieve. And then he's got to make decisions based on soldiers dying. What do we do about this? There is tensions with the Horde, which, I mean, right after this event, Sylvanas burns down Teldrassil. Like, what? He's in deep. He's also got Gen Greymane on his ass to continue the legacy of the crown. shack up and have babies. Like, he's got the whole world on his shoulders, actually quite literally. And he's a whole 19. So our boy is overwhelmed. From the get-go, like, he even goes out into an inn, dressed up as somebody else, trying to hide the fact that he's the king, just to be a normal guy for a day. And who walks in but Jaina? Clocks him like that. It's a beautiful conversation about the burden of his position, but still, he can't even have a beer. Now, one of the central themes that we're going to deal with Anduin from day one is this boy has a heart of gold. He sees good in people that he shouldn't. He sees past horrible exteriors and horrible actions and sees something inside people. 9 times out of 10, he's right. But boy, does it hurt when he's wrong. In this book, he fucks up. So, we're going to marry Callia's story with his because that's kind of the premise of the book. Callia's like, hey, since I'm the savior person, I would love for the Forsakens to meet their families. Because they're still alive, even though they thought dead. And yes, they're horrible monsters now, but like, maybe they want to meet. Like, let's do something. I won't go into full detail because it goes fucking poorly. Callia dies. Some Forsaken people were basically like, oh my god, you're a terrible monster, please die now. Some of it went well. Like, again, it didn't go well at all. And Anduin helped set this up. And there is a moment where he actually loses it. Just for a second. And that moment has always stuck with me because it's so out of character. But he actually stands there and you see the shadow come up his arm. You know, Shadow Priest, get it? He loses it for a second. Just a second, and it comes back. This book, if you're looking on Anduin's side, is I'm overwhelmed, I'm fucking up, people can do it better than me, people all over me, I can't. And then he goes and does something, and it goes to hell. So before she burns down a big tree, he's already over it way too much, and everything seems to be slipping through his fingers. And reminder, this happened before Shadowlands. The boy didn't stand a chance, and that's what I believe Christie wants you to remember walking into War Within. Like, he wasn't in the state, he's gone through it. And War Crimes is not nearly as intense of a gone through it situation, but he went through it. Now, remember we talked in the beginning about how the lore of these books tend to expand, not tell the story, but this War Crimes was the one that did it the worst. The entirety of the ending of the expansion is in the book. And those are valid criticisms. I'm gonna argue that that's not Christie Golden's fault. It's not. It is a decision in-game to not include it. So, that is where you should be mad. Because this book is genius. So, let's go back to Pandaria, right? But how does it end? Garrosh is put behind bars. Everything goes poorly. Now, because they are in Pandaria, they can't just put him to death. They just can't put him in a ring with a fighter and say, hey, to the death with you. They can't. They need to do it by trial. Which, that's 99% of that book, is trial. And, I'm not gonna lie to you, that's what makes this book so good. Everyone, every big character shows up for this trial. From Alex Strauza shows up for it. All the Horde leaders, Alliance leaders. And you learn so much about all of their inner workings. What are they thinking? Why do they feel that way? What is their moral ground that they're standing on? All of it. And it was, to me, just that is worth it. I'm going to go an extra step and say Bane Bloodhoof is who you learn the most about, right? Because he is standing defense for Garrosh, even though, spoiler alert, Garrosh killed his dad. Unhonorably. Terribly. So you learn a lot about how the Tauren think and how the Tauren work. And how Bane believes. Which I'm very glad to see. Because we don't see a lot about the Taurens. I will admit that. But no, this was good. there's also a bit on Sylvanas, which, if you are looking for foreshadowing that she was an impulsive person and she doesn't give two shits about anybody else and she will 100% exact revenge as she sees fit, it's in there. It is. And no, I didn't read the recent Sylvanas book, but no, she's always been like that. That's her. Going back to it, in this book, Anduin's 15. So he, again, now he's a boy. He's a little cub, a little lion, a little BB. Okay? He's just a boy. And he went to Pandaria to learn more about it and stuff, and Garrosh nearly destroyed him. They got into it, and this close. However, Anduin is Anduin. Eventually he got out of it, and here he is at this trial, and he's very much bothered by this trial. And even his father's like, hey, like, you need to snap the hell out of it. Like, this guy needs to die. And Anduin comes back, and does he, though? Does he? Are you sure? Going with the theme that Anduin is the guy with that ability to see through pain and all of that. Even Garrosh asks to speak with him privately. And it takes a while. Most of the book is him going back down to the cell and talking to him a little bit more. And you really realize that Anduin's breaking down those barriers with him, slowly and surely. And at the very end, he even gets him to a point where he's like, you know what? Maybe I did fuck up. Maybe I did. And maybe I can change. We also see Anduin talking about all of this stuff with his bestie, Rathian. Remember Rathian? I remember Rathian. And he talks about, like, the burdens of being prince. He talks about, like, the burden of all of this on his shoulders. He talks about how he sees the good in people and all that. And Rathian kind of gets it. Like, Rathian's got a lot on his shoulders, too. So they really, like, they bond. Very good over it. So it ends with the intention of Garrosh coming and apologizing and accepting his fate. However, a bronze dragon that was in this mess decides, no man, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna free you. How about that? So the bronze dragon, the Dragon Maw clan, and who was that other guy? Oh yeah, Anduin's best friend, fucking Rathian, is like, yeah, let's get him the fuck out of here. Take him and go. And that's what starts the events of Draenor. So yeah, Anduin is left, one, completely betrayed. Completely. Two, he really thought that he got to Garrosh. And this kid's already had attempts on his life. Like, he's been through it. But that's what his life is going to be. Betrayal, hurt, and an overwhelming burden for him to carry, even though he wants nothing but good in the world. And, like, Rathian fucked up so bad. He freed Garrosh, hoping to get, like, a setup for the Burning Legion coming back. And made it worse. And remember, by making it worse, Rathian is essentially responsible for Varian's death, Anduin's dad. So yeah, you remember in BFA when Anduin gave him the old 1-2, punched him right in the face?
By the light, the new advisor. Rathian.
Anduin, it's been so long.
Oh, dragons.
I suppose I deserved that.
Oh, you deserve more than that. My father is dead because of you!
That's why. So, King Anduin, prior to BFA, is overwhelmed, a shell of a man, losing faith in humanity, keeps fighting so hard to keep it together. Before BFA, before Sylvanas loses her damn mind, and then before Shadowlands, where he was the boy's been through it. And now he comes out of it a shell of a man who is just completely broken. I would argue, just based on what we know, that War Within is just a play on words as like Anduin's mental state. Because that makes every little bit of sense. So yeah, that's what you missed from those two books. I would argue War Crimes is a must-read today. Go read it. It's excellent. Especially if you're into the lore stuff and you want to know moral compass. Just that is worth reading War Crimes over. And I will get to the Shattering eventually. It is far down on my list though. Either way, let me know what you thought. Let me know if you're going to read these books, if you already have, if you're excited to see how Anduin goes into the War Within. It should be interesting because, whew, he been through it. In the meantime, though, if you like what you see, subscribe, ring the bell. I do all kinds of nerdy stuff. I do a lot of Final Fantasy, a lot of Moogles. And we do some Warcraft. We do all kinds of nerdy stuff here. This is the spot for it. In the meantime, have a legendary night. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you guys again on the next one. Bye. And then I punch Deathwing. Deathwing's baby in the face.
It's been so long. It's been so long. It's been so